Splatoon 3 is, in my opinion, the best multiplayer shooter in the world right now. It is the game that I, except for Minecraft, have the most amount of playtime in, and that I even started to play competitively together with the team. The reason for this is undoubtedly the great game design, game essence and insane level of polishing found in almost every aspect of the game. Let's first discuss the core of Splatoon, the one that every player knows as soon as they play or even watch the game. Shoot at enemies and paint the ground in kit form, and use that paint to move around quickly in swim form and refill your ammunition. This is the single greatest premise for a multiplayer shooter I have ever seen, and even in creating FPS games myself as a hobby, I have yet to come up with a better idea. To understand why this works so well, we have to talk about game essence. Game essence is defined by Masahiro Sakurai, creator and director of game series such as Kirby and Super Smash Bros., as the thing making games be fun, the essence of the game. On his YouTube channel, that any person interested in creating or analyzing games should follow, he explains that a crucial part of a game's appeal is risk and reward, or push and pull. In short, a state of risk should always be in combination with some sort of reward. Game essence, then, is the fun in managing risk and reward, of being able to strategize, and being able to choose how much risk you want to take and how big of a reward you want in return. In Splatoon, swimming in your own ink means that you can move quickly and are relatively concealed from your enemies. However, you also cannot attack enemies, and you cannot lay more ink on the ground. It is a state of low risk, but low reward. To attack or to cover turf, you must reveal yourself to enemies and are limited to slow movement. You have increased the possible reward, but also the risk of getting shot. However, you can only stay in each state for a limited time, because at some point there is no more ink to swim in or you are out of ammunition. This system also ensures that the game is not difficult to learn, while also having an absurdly high skill ceiling. You do not need crazy aim to contribute to the game. Firstly, because you can always paint the ground, and secondly, because hitting opponents is not as difficult as in other games. For one, because some weapons have large hitboxes, and for another, because of the game's scale, in the literal sense of how big the world and characters are. In other shooters, enemies are only a small portion of your screen and move very quickly, making them difficult to hit. In Splatoon, you can move quickly, but this requires the ground to be inked in your color. As soon as you are in kit form, you are an easy target. Because kill times are very short, the focus lies more on getting an advantage over the enemy, like approaching unnoticed from behind or trapping them in your ink. The great thing is that this system also provides opportunities to counteract these weak points by intelligently switching between the modes, for example squid dashing. Additionally, ink on the ground acts as a kind of neon-colored warning signal of which areas of the map are in control by which team. See your teammates surrounded by enemy ink on the map? You probably shouldn't super jump to them, because it is likely that there are enemies who will splat you and your teammates. Risk and reward are also present in another metaphorical layer of the game, the distance to enemies. This is impacted by your choice of weapon, of course, but generally speaking, being close to enemies means high risk of getting splatted or getting your movement options limited because your inked turf gets painted over by the enemy, and a high reward of doing the same to your opponent. Because you and your enemy will most likely wield different weapons, this relation is asymmetrical, which makes positioning way more interesting. The weapon you have might have longer range, but a worse kill time. That means you ideally want to position in an area where you can hit the opponent without them hitting you. The opponent, however, can counteract this by using map geometry and better movement to get into range and use the better kill time, or use its sub and special to displace the longer range weapon. Your choice of weapon greatly changes the strategy, how you manage risk and reward, of your positioning. Splatoon 3 does a great job of having lots of distinct and unique weapons without them feeling bland or redundant, and the game's balancing over the time has mostly done a good job of reducing the oppressiveness of certain special weapons, though I would wish for some of the weaker weapons, subs and specials to be buffed. each weapon has a place because of the uniqueness of the main weapon as well as the sub and special given to it. Though the limited number of kits means that not every main weapon will get the special some players wanted to have, kits are still an important way to balance a weapon. Some main weapons will just be stronger than others because nerfing aspects of the main weapon would go directly against the game essence of using it. Imagine Tetra dualies that, for example, couldn't fire shots while dodge rolling or had super poor ink efficiency. It just would go directly against the weapon's identity and appeal of playing it. So instead, it has weaker kits than other dualies. Balancing is still very difficult and Splatoon 3 by no means does a perfect job at it, but every weapon is still able to have an impact. The Undercover Brawler might be considered one of the worst weapons in the game, but it still has a shield of 100 HP that no other weapon has. You could still be catched off guard in a 1v1 because the player you are fighting has double the amount of health than normal, though it is unlikely because the kit is also terrible. Remember that tier lists you see are usually from a competitive perspective, one where having as much impact as humanly possible is the absolute highest goal, meaning that differences in how well a weapon enables players to do that matter much more. In a casual setting, this matters less. One side note about chargers. In many games, snipers are one of the most hated weapons. This is because they are very difficult to balance in terms of the fun of using them and the oppressiveness they bring to the game. Splatoon does an excellent job at this. For one, the laser of the sniper is visible. This means that you know when a charger is looking at you, so you have time to react and take cover before getting one hit obliterated across the map. They can also only ever focus one opponent, at least on good maps, so the other 3 team members can push in, at least until the charger learns to flick shots. Charger players, man, they scare me. Still, chargers have to, well, charge shots, and between that and frequently running out of ink, have significant amounts of downtime. You can also throw sub and special weapons at the chargers to have an opportunity to push. All that means that chargers are still fun to play and can have a great impact on the game, but also feel more or less fair to fight. Or I would say that if the maps gave cover and opportunities to flank, but more about that later. Back to the gameplay. Objectives are what gives these genius core mechanics a win condition, a reason to exist. Turf War is a great mode for new players to learn the game, because the win condition directly aligns with the core gameplay loop, namely inking the ground. It allows players to learn the game's unique control scheme and core design in an environment where they don't have to worry about a more fleshed out objective. The ranked modes give a more competitive experience with the objective that has more of a risk and reward. Playing the objective in these modes puts you in a direct disadvantage. The Rainmaker is slow moving and slow firing, and standing on the tower, having power clamps or painting the zone all reveal your position. This is a good thing, because it means you need to gain an advantage, such as having splattered some enemies, before doing the thing that wins the game. However, the objectives do not remove so much of your power as to become annoying to use. The Rainmaker takes away your weapon sub and special, but at least gives you powerful Rainmaker shots in return. The tower has a pole in the middle that you can use as cover. Again, all that is really being done here is balancing risk and reward. The risk being pushing the objective, and the reward being getting a good score and winning the game. If only the maps were good. Let's talk map design. There are plenty of other videos by other creators that go more into depth than I will go here, and you should definitely watch those. Links are in the description. Generally, a map is there because it gives cover from long-range weapons, it enables interesting, for example vertical, movement. Remember, the thing making Splatoon so unique. A good map should have enough space for players to move around without being all clumped on the same spot, and have distinct geometry to enable and balance the different weapon classes. Pushing into the enemy base, the underlying win condition of every game mode, should put players at a disadvantage, because otherwise every match would end in a knockout. The map should give opportunities to safely back up into your base, and it should have little choke points to keep the gameplay fast paced. Splatoon 3 usually does not a good job at this. Let's look at a map in Splatoon 3 that mostly does well. Mako-Mart, incidentally a map ported from Splatoon 2. This map has a unique layout in mid, with the stacks and low ground flanks. This means short-range weapons have cover and flanks to play around. Snipe, here, is a very important defensive position, and tower control does the genius thing of only letting attackers easily access it when the tower has pushed up enough. At all points during the match, pushing the objective puts you at a disadvantage. The defenders constantly have high ground positions and at the end even completely encircle enemies if they are not pushed out of these areas. The only thing really missing here is a backup route to snipe, something present on every other mode than tower control. Maybe a defensive sponge somewhere around here would do good in TC. But all in all, Mako Mart is a map that fulfills most of the criteria a good map should. Unfortunately, most maps don't. Mincemeat Metalworks is one of the worst offenders of this. There is very little cover, meaning long range weapons in, for example, this position can absolutely shut down anything you want to do. There are very few approach options, no flanks, little cover and, especially in tower control, few routes to back up. The only thing it does okay at is putting the pushing team at a disadvantage. Sadly, this kind of map design is typical of new Splatoon 3 maps. Many maps feel small and cramped. There are many map modes that I personally just don't want to play, and the map design is really the only major thing I dislike about Splatoon 3. However, I'd like to clarify here that I criticize this because I love this game so incredibly much. It is nothing that holds me back from playing this game, and it is also nothing that should hold you back from playing it. For one, because many map modes are still fun to play, and additionally, with how many modes there are, there usually is at least one that is acceptable. Another thing that's fair to criticize right now are the connection issues. Peer-to-peer connection for a game released in 2022 is horrendous, disconnects are way too often, and we pay $20 a year for this. This is all there really is to say about this. One great thing I'd like to touch on is Splatoon's graphical design. I'm not an artist, so my perspective on this is limited, but there are still some things that stood out to me. As for almost all Nintendo games, design follows function. This means that every aspect of the game, the graphical design, the music, etc., is all derived from the main gameplay loop. We are playing as Inklings and Octolings simply because the developers of Splatoon 1 needed to come up with the design for something that can switch between quickly moving in a painted area of the map and shooting whilst moving slowly. The weapon models are designed in a way to allude to their functionality. The longer ranged a weapon is, the longer and thinner the model usually is, and faster weapons are usually smaller. With that being said, I want to have one short quick-fire round of cool graphical design aspects about the game. In kit form, the ink tank is actually always visible, even through your body, to ensure that you always know how much ink you still have. I absolutely love the expressiveness of animations such as This Way and Booyah. It's so cute. Getting special is clearly shown through a white flash, and having special means your hair and the special charge meter is glowing. It really are these small things that add up to make a difference. The objectives have a unique silhouette and visual appearance. This makes them very recognizable and helps with standing out from the rest of the game. It is the way you win, after all. If anyone dies, there's an X shown on screen and a little animation to try and direct your attention to the overlay at the top of the screen, nudging you to realize that one of the teams is now most likely at a numbers disadvantage. Instead of showing losing animations after losing a game like it was in Splatoon 1 and 2, Splat 3 chooses to show the winning emotes of the enemies. This is a choice that helps with the self-expression of your Inkling. I also wonder if it helps players stay in a healthier mindset, because they don't feel as bad for losing, as the end screen looks the same regardless of winning or losing. Splatsville is so cool and immersive. The animations of the Inklings and Octolings wandering around are super expressive and cute, and the atmosphere is amazing too. I love the music, it fits the gameplay so well. Splatoon really is one of the greatest video game series ever created. Between the core mechanic, having a great sense of risk and reward, mostly great balancing and smart game design with such a dedication to small details, Splatoon 3 has completely managed to win over my heart. The only other game I could even consider having a similar level of game essence is Minecraft, which really is hardly comparable. Of course, some aspects, namely the map design and connection issues, are still worth being criticized, but in the end, it is nothing that can hold the mashup of amazing game design, unique weapons, fast movement, cool art style, great music, weird lore and connection errors that is Splatoon 3 back. Thank you for watching this video to the end. This is my first YouTube video ever created, so it would mean a lot to me if you'd leave a like. On this channel, I plan to upload videos that relate to Splatoon and my journey as a new competitive player, as well as game development and programming, so if you want to see any of that, make sure to subscribe. You may have noticed that I mostly discussed design aspects of the 4v4 multiplayer modes. If you want to see me go over Salmon Run, challenge battles or the single player campaign from a similar perspective, let me know in the comments.